Yo, what up? What up? What up? It's your boy Bowie here. And I got some ranting to do. Yes, indeed. I got some rambling to do in this video right here. And I'm here to talk about Will and Jada. You know, the topic that nobody seems to be able to escape. You know, people claim they're not interested in hearing about it, but yet you can't get away from it no matter where you go. You know what I'm saying? But I don't want to join the cacophony of disgruntled male voices out there that seem to be lathering raw hatred on Mrs. Smith. I'm not going to do that. Not in this video, not in any video. Not because I'm a simp or because I'm biased towards women, but because I understand that in relationships, it always takes two. You understand what I'm saying? No. What I want to do is I want to, offer analysis of namely the backlash and the vitriol that Mrs. Jada Pinkett Smith receives, even though, the state of her marriage involves Mr. Will Smith as well. You dig what I'm saying? So I'm not going to get into the copious details of, all the things that she said in her book or in the interviews or anything like that, because no matter what she says, it only seems to serve the purpose of making people more pissed at her, thereby villainizing her and victimizing Will Smith. And some of that is warranted. Some of it is warranted, but a lot of it is, disproportionate. Okay. And that's what I want to talk about. So anyway, before I get into that, the game you're looking at is Armored Core 6. Game is phenomenal. I feel like it's a must play. And I'm going to be doing this mission. This is the end of Chapter 1, Balteus, because this was the mission that pushed a lot of people away. And it's fun as hell. It's a fun mission once you learn how to play the game and you really experiment with your builds and stuff like that. It's fun. I beat him for fun now. And I know the boy got nerfed and all that, but even if he was never nerfed, I would still be folding that thing. But anyway. So, about Jada Pinkett Smith. So, I find it very interesting that people cannot seem to fathom, where she might be coming from with her perspectives about, being married and all this kind of thing. And I want to offer you a little bit of a window. I don't know her, but I can use my imagination. See, Jada and Will, they're both in the same industry. They're both actors. Accomplished, talented actors. Only Will got his jump start from having a rap career first and having a huge hit TV show that boosted his profile well before he ever made it on the big screen. Not to mention a series of major hits in the music scene. So he was kind of Drake before Drake in a way, you know what I'm saying? By contrast, Jada went to Juilliard, the same, performing arts school that Tupac went to, you know what I'm saying? And she had been on television as well, but much less successful, and she has no music career to to launch from, you know what I'm saying? But she was on her way, you know. She was a part of some major films, particularly in the 90s and the early 2000s and stuff like that. Set It Off, Jason's Lyric, you know what I'm saying, to name a few. I don't know if anyone's ever seen A Low Down Dirty Shame, but that movie's fucking hilarious. And Jada Pinkett Smith is a large part of the reason why, you know. But, and then later on, she was in The Matrix 2. I can't remember what the name of it is, but the second Matrix movie, second and third, you know what I'm saying. And here's the thing. She was on an upward trajectory. Will was on an upward trajectory. And so when the two of them got married, which I'll talk about that momentarily, his movie career didn't have to pause. You know, he was able to have big blockbuster films, you know, all while being married and all that good stuff. His career improved once they got married. What happened with Jada's career? It did not improve. I would say for a while there, it kind of got stagnated, you know, because now she's a wife and mom. You know what I'm saying? She's having to juggle that stuff and put her acting career to the side. And here's the thing. This is not unique to her. This has been a thing with women, you know, of all kinds for a very long time. You know, women feel like they have to make the choice between career and motherhood. And that's why it's so significant, for instance, that, you know, Cardi B was visibly pregnant and still outperforming and going to shows and doing her thing, basically illustrating that, hey, I'm not choosing between two things that I really want. I'm going to have them both. Just like men get to have both, you know what I'm saying? But Jada Pinkett didn't quite have that choice. You know what I'm saying? At least not until the kids were older. You know what I mean? So, I mean, if you think I'm bullshitting, think about it like this. Her son has a bigger movie profile than she does. Jaden Smith. You know what I mean? Like, he's more recognizable in films than she is at this point. Because he's been able to be the star role. Or at least co-star with, you know, people like Jackie Chan, people like his father, you know what I'm saying? Like, all that kind of thing. Jada Pinkett didn't really quite have that. As far as I know, she hasn't starred in shit. And here's the thing. I imagine that even as she cheered her husband's success, she probably was thinking, damn, I wish I could be successful like that too. You know what I mean? We're both in the same industry. We both do the same thing for a living. And I went to school for this. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm very good at this. And I will tell you something that a lot of people probably don't want to hear. Jada Pinkett Smith is a better actor than Will Smith. Yes, I realize he's more accomplished. Yes, I realize he has more blockbusters. But if you compare the actual ability of both of them side by side, she's better. Because Will Smith, for the longest time, and even somewhat now, Will Smith has pretty much played Will Smith in a lot of his films. It's just different shades of Will Smith. Sometimes more funny, sometimes more serious, sometimes a mixture of both, but typically always brash. Always got a little bit of a chip on the shoulder, but, able to wash it away with humor. That kind of thing. This has been a lot of his characters in some of his biggest films. Now, as his career advanced, he sort of steered away from that more and started to develop more layers. But the thing is, Jada Pinkett Smith already had those layers. She had them way earlier. If you look at her films and the characters she plays, those characters are not variations of each other. Those characters, are all pretty different from each other. And some of them bear similarities to her in real life, but many of them don't. And that's what a good actor does. They can obviously play themselves, but the idea is to play as somebody that is not yourself. Think somebody like Chadwick Boseman or Jeffrey Wright or Christian Bale. You know what I'm saying? But the point is, and I'm not trying to disparage Will in order to elevate Jada. That's another phenomenon I want to talk about later, but the point of what I'm getting at is she's got talent and she had to work for her talent, and she honed her craft in a way that he didn't, at least not as soon, or she honed her craft sooner than he did, yet he's somehow able to have more success while she has to stall her career. There's no way that didn't affect the relationship between the two. But then again, here's the other thing too. To go back to a point I was making earlier, she didn't really want to be married to begin with. From what I've heard, and I didn't verify any of this, but from what I heard, Will just kind of called her up after his divorce, asked her if she would go out with him. She just kind of agreed, because it's Will Smith in the 90s who wouldn't want to do that. You know what I'm saying? And she just kind of, went along with stuff, as many women do. Not because she's nefarious, but because many women, follow their heads when it comes to love. They'll pick the sensible option, even if they ain't necessarily all the way fully in love with that sensible option. Even if that person's not their person for real. Ooh, that was an ill ass cut. Ooh. Anyway. And that's not, as unfortunate of a phenomenon as that is. It does happen, and I don't think that, the women that are in that particular situation are intending to hurt anybody, and they're not trying to be nefarious, and they're not trying to be, evil or anything like that. They ain't trying to harm nobody. They just trying to be happy. And sometimes when the main person that's their person is inaccessible or unavailable, they'll go for the second best option and try to learn to love that person. They think they can make it work because that person will typically have a bunch of great qualities. They'll show up for them. They'll be the sensible option in a lot of ways. All that kind of stuff. But they are, in fact, settling. And it ain't never good to settle. But a lot of people learn that a little too late. You know what I'm saying? And so I think that's a lot of what has happened in their relationship as well. She kind of settled for Will because she couldn't have Tupac or whoever, or have, herself, really. Because there's no telling if Jada Pinkett would have ever gotten married and taken on anyone's last name. I mean, it's possible she would have tried to marry Tupac, but who knows how that would have turned out if he would have stayed alive, you know what I'm saying? But point of what I'm getting at is, you know, she got married when she really didn't want to. And as tempting as it is to blame her for that, it takes two. Will is just as much to blame for that as she is, because I'm positive that she communicated the fact that, hey, I don't know if I want to do this. I heard that she cried on their wedding day, not tears of joy, but just seemingly tears of sadness. You know what I'm saying? You knew that this woman was not ready to be a wife, yet he went through with it anyway, with dogged determination. And a part of me admires the commitment to such determination, but at the same time, you kind of have to acknowledge that it, you know, it kind of can feel like a hostage situation where you're holding somebody in a relationship against their will. No pun intended. And you can't do that if you love somebody. You know what I mean? Like, you got to love them just enough to want their happiness above your own. You know what I mean? And I say this from the perspective of someone who's been married for 9 years. Someone who's been in a relationship with the same woman for 13 years. You got to learn your partner. You got to know what really makes that person happy. You got to identify that quick. And if you really love them, if you really care about them more than you care about yourself, you will make sure that they have access to whatever it is that makes them happy, regardless of your relationship status. Even if that means that you can't have the relationship with them that you want. Now, this right here turned out to be a challenge for your boy, because I don't have two projectile weapons. I have a dual melee setup, but I figured it out. But anyway, you got to love somebody enough to make sure that they have access to what makes them tick, what they love. And if you don't let them do that, then frankly, I feel like you don't really love them. You know, you love the relationship that you have with them more than you love them. And I think Will Smith is a little bit guilty of that. At least a little bit. So he's going to shoulder 50% of the blame in that particular situation. I'm not going to sit here and give Jada all the smoke on that behalf. You know what I mean? She didn't want to be married. She probably told him she didn't want to be married, or signaled very strongly that she was not ready to be married. And my boy ignored the flags, the red flags. And so when people are doing something that they really don't want to do, it's going to show. And they're not going to be able to pretend that they don't want to do it forever. And that's male or female. You know. So I think that's what happened in their relationship. Now, in terms of, you know, some people are upset about the perpetrating. You know, they've been separated this whole time. Why are they pretending to be married? Let's think about the circumstances under which they got married. First and foremost, Will and Jada are black. And there is a consistent and persistent narrative around black people that we are not deserving of love. We're neither capable nor deserving. And not only does it apply to black men, it applies even more so to black women as well. That narrative is reinforced in 1,000 ways through media, shows, songs, everything. And so because of that, as black people, we tend to hold on to our celebrity power couples very dearly. Why? Because they counteract that narrative boldly and loudly. You know, so seeing someone, for instance, like Michelle and Barack, that's a hell of a lot more important to black people than I don't even know the first lady's name now. I don't even remember. You know what I'm saying? Like, we see white couples be married forever all the time. The marriages can be as unhappy as anything that we've seen from Will and Jada, but we see so many images of it that it's normal. You know what I mean? But when you see black couples, the imagery is not quite like that. We're not used to seeing a whole bunch of images of especially younger black people be married and happily married to each other. We don't see a whole lot of that. So seeing Barack and Michelle be together, see the president of the United States not only be with a black woman, but a brown-skinned, unambiguously black woman, that's a powerful image for black people. And that's something that I don't think a lot of people will ever truly understand. And it's not their fault. You just got to be a part of the culture to really get it. You know what I'm saying? Or use your imagination. But anyway, point is, we hold on to our couples. So that could be Michelle Barack. That could be Rihanna and ASAP. That could be Remy and Papoose. You know what I'm saying? Any young power couple where both the man and the woman are famous. You know, Beyonce and Jay, how could I forget them? Jesus fucking Christ. Anyway, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Any power couple in which both members have a name and a status that they built independently and then they unite together, like, we hang on to that. Not because it's not common with black folks, but because the narrative suggests that it's not common. You dig what I'm saying? And Will and Jada were one of the original power couples for black people. They were on magazines. They did interviews. You know what I'm saying? Like, their marriage was very much for the culture. And it helped contribute to the culture. And it helped Will's career tremendously. And it helped Jada's image as well, up until it didn't. You dig what I'm saying? So knowing all of this, it's no surprise that they tried to hold on to any positive images of their marriage. Of course, they're going to swat away rumors of them being swingers. I don't know if they're swingers or not. Frankly, it doesn't matter. That's their business, not ours. But they're going to try to uphold any kind of positive image of their marriage that they can hold up, because the alternative is to fail the culture. You dig what I'm saying? And black people have dealt with enough failure and disappointment and trauma as it is. And so that's why when Jada says, you know, or when she indicates that people's opinions were important, that's what she's referring to. And I don't blame her for that. And here's the other thing. Will is just as much guilty of trying to maintain that image. So people giving all the smoke to Jada Pinkett Smith and ignoring Will, y'all are being willfully ignorant, pun intended. So probably the main thing that I want to focus on in this video is just the anti-Jada vitriol that I see that is common, especially from men. And here's the thing, to a small degree, I get it, because in a lot of dudes' minds, Will was doing his damnedest to be the perfect husband. You know, we ain't hear no rumors about him stepping out on her. We ain't hear no rumors of him abusing her, either physically or emotionally or anything like that. As far as we know, Will has only ever been good to his wife. You know what I'm saying? He does everything he can to support her. You know, the dude appears to be the model husband and father. And yet somehow that's not enough for his woman to love him. That's sort of the perception that's at play here. You know what I'm saying? And again, to a certain extent, there appears to be truth to that. But relationships always take two. And we just established that Will and Jada have been putting up a front. Not because they want to be deceptive, but because culture. You know what I'm saying? They want to contribute positively to black culture. And one of the ways to do that is to get married and stay married. You know what I mean? Even if it hurts. Even if it means that Jada has to be the pariah. You know what I'm saying? And I can't fully blame her for that, because here's the thing. We don't know how Will is off them cameras. We kind of get an idea of what Jada's like off of the cameras, because, you know, as pretentious as her red table talks were, we do get a sense of how she actually is for real. We don't quite get that with Will. He's an actor. You know what I'm saying? And he does the dance that, you know, the vast majority of black people do. We protect our reputations in public. Especially when we work in a professional work environment, we protect the way that we're perceived very closely, because we realize that that protection might be the only thing we have. And Will is doing the same thing. But that, of course, means that we can't really know how supportive he actually is for real. We don't even know if he hasn't stepped out. It looked like he hasn't. But we don't know. We didn't even know they were separated. So think about what else we don't know. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, point of what I'm getting at is, all you guys that are sitting up here throwing all this crazy hatred at Jada, y'all need to stop. All you guys that feel like you have to hate Jada in order to love Will, you need to stop. Here's a novel thought. How about you don't hate either one of them? Recognize their humanity. You know what I'm saying? Jada's a person, Will's a person. They're gonna fuck up because they're humans. And here's the other thing too. They're still committed to working on their marriage. from everything that we've seen from the both of them. She's not getting a divorce from him. He's damn sure not divorcing her. So if they're not trying to get divorced, if he don't hate her, why do you? You know what I'm saying? Now, actually, you know what? As I think about it, let me try to answer that question a little bit myself as to why a lot of men feel like they hate her. Because I've heard this narrative. The narrative is that she is emasculating Will Smith, making him look weak, making him look soft, controlling what he does and what he says. And that's funny, because a lot of the same dudes making that argument are the same ones that will sit there and argue that trans women ain't really women because they were born men. So wait a minute. If a trans woman can't become a woman because she was born a man, that means that once you're a man, you're always a man, no matter what the fuck you do. That's what that implies, right? So if that's the case, how the fuck can a man, especially one as powerful and as wealthy as Will Smith, how can he become emasculated? How can he have his manhood taken away from him if he was born a man? You see what I'm saying? If manhood is intrinsic to a guy and inalienable, meaning you can't take it away no matter what you do, then theoretically that means she can do and say whatever the hell she want to say. He's still a man, and he's no less of a man before and after her statements. So you can't hold the idea that trans women ain't women and that men can be emasculated at the same time. You really can't. You got to make a choice. You dig what I'm saying? But that's funny to me. So you motherfuckers got to make a choice. Either manhood can be given and taken away from men whenever, or it can't. And if you decide that it can't, then that means that Jada Pinkett Smith is not making Will look weak. She's not making him look like less of a man. Because she can't do that. She doesn't have that power. Y'all got to make up y'all motherfucking mind. Right? Now, for me, I feel like in the whole construct of manhood and womanhood and shit like that, that's innate to a person, not necessarily having to do with what genitals you were born with, but how you feel, how you move through this world, how you act, you know, what you favor. See, I'm a man for real. I don't want to talk about problems I can't fix. I fix shit. You know what I'm saying? And I just move through this world like that for real. You know, I don't worry about what motherfuckers have to say about me, because as far as I'm concerned, if they're talking behind my back, that means they're behind me. And that's exactly where they'll stay. You know what I'm saying? I don't give a fuck about doing nothing to appeal to people or to impress people. You know, for Christmas, I'm not decorating the outside of my house. Why? Because I can't see the fucking decorations. And if I can't see the decorations, then they are of no use to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't drive a fancy car because I'm not trying to impress nobody. I'm just trying to get on this road, go from A to B, whoop, whoop, and that's it. That's how I move through the world. And I think a lot of men agree with that sentiment. You know what I'm saying? So If I were born a woman, or if I were born female, but I had that same attitude, I would be considered masculine. You dig what I'm saying? Because that's my idea, at least, of how a man moves through the world. So, Will Smith is a man. As far as I know, he's always felt like a man his whole life. So, nothing Jada could do could take his manhood from him. All she can do is piss off the men that think that manhood can be taken from him. You know what I'm saying? If manhood to you guys means being pissed off at women all the time and being bitter ass little bitches and calling women bitches just because you don't like them, and your basis of not liking women is you can't control what they do and say and wear and shit like that, then you not a man, motherfucker. Nah, that's not what manhood is. Manhood is about using your power to protect women and other people that are relatively vulnerable in this society. Not because you need a favor from them or because you need payback or because you want some sort of ulterior motive, but because you can and you should protect, defend, whatever. You know what I'm saying? So, some of you dudes running around here talk about some Will Smith is emasculated. You don't know what it means to be a man. Because you not a man. Not because you don't have the genitalia, but because your energy is off. You think your power comes from dominating people and telling them what to do and controlling how women behave and shit. Like, nah, doggy. That's not masculine. That's madness. That's a monarch. That's a despot. You ain't got to control nobody. But anyway. So, y'all motherfuckers making them arguments, you can stop. You can stop. We see through you. You hate women. And Jada Pinkett Smith is chiefest amongst them right now. Not even necessarily just because of what she did, but because she's a black woman that dared to transgress publicly. And that's your basis for disliking the woman. That's your basis for lionizing Will Smith. And that's garbage. Trash, 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 trash. Alright. And you can disagree with me in the comments if you want to. But again, I'm a man comfortable with my masculinity. I'm happily married to a woman that I love and who loves me back. A woman who all she ever wanted was to be married, especially to me. And all I ever wanted was to be married to her. So we happy together. And we ain't perpetrating, we ain't faking. Like, she's my homie for real. We make each other laugh every day. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is my best friend. And the problem is, so many people, when they get into these relationships, they don't go into relationships with their friends. They get into relationships with people that they're extremely attracted to, and then they try to work out everything else later. That shit don't work, bruh. That shit does not work. I mean, it can work, but that's the exception and not the rule. But, you know, what do I know? But yeah, you know, so those are some of my thoughts on Mr. and Mrs. Smith. I I hope they work everything out. You know, I admire their commitment to stay married to each other despite the bullshit that has happened. And even though Jada's the one putting it out there and not having any kind of discretion, she's not the person solely responsible for the status of the marriage. And y'all would do well to remember that. You dig what I'm saying? Sheesh. Y'all would do well to remember that. But again, what do I know? I'm just rambling. I'm just rambling. But with that being said, I'll catch y'all later. Peace.